Feel free to connect with us. And so if you would like to have a deeper conversation about this topic, you can schedule an appointment by coming to our Loop office or our Lincoln Park office. You can schedule an appointment on depaul.joinhandshake.com. Or if you have any additional questions, you can go to the Career Center at depaul.edu. This is the end of our presentation portion of our event tonight. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. If anyone, I'm going to then show you how to use LinkedIn as a networking tool real quick, or how to find individuals. But in the meantime, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to type them in the chat, and then we can go over the questions once I'm done showing you LinkedIn. So, for example, this is DePaul University's LinkedIn page, and the technique I'm about to show you can be used for any university. So for our graduate students, if we attended a different undergraduate university, you can use this tool for that. Or for a graduate or a current undergraduate student and we're thinking about attending somewhere else for graduate school, we can also do this technique for that future institution. When we're on our institution's page, we want to go to alumni. And this will bring us to everyone who is a current DePaul, everyone who's on LinkedIn who is either a current DePaul student or an alumni. And from here, we're able to kind of search and figure out what things we want to do. And so if I'm able to, let me try and bring the chat back up. Okay, so we have healthcare administration is the first thing I see in the chat. So I'm just going to pop that into our search bar. And just by adding that keyword, we get that number of alumni down to 3,498. But you're probably sitting there on the other side of the screen going, wow, that's still a lot of alumni to search through. And you're right, it is. And so from here, we might want to adjust the graduation year. So maybe we want to look at someone more in their entry level. So let's bring it to 2018 to 2020. This brings the number of alumni down to 364. From here, then we're able to play with these kind of filter systems. So we're able to look at where they work, maybe what they do. Maybe we're interested in working in operations of the healthcare administration. And from here, we get 36 alumni for us to search through. So let's take a look at Katie, for example. On Katie's profile, we are able to get a look at her entire career history. So where she started as a research intern, to all of her undergraduate experiences at DePaul, to maybe this first post-graduation career as an administrative manager, some more experiences that she had at DePaul, experiences that she had when she attended the University of Minnesota for graduate school, all the way to her current positions, from being a healthcare delivery science and innovation coordinator at Chicago Medicine to literally this new position that she's just started recently as a senior program specialist. So if, for example, we were interested in speaking with Katie, we would send her a connection, and in that connection, we would add a note basing it off of that message that we reviewed in the presentation, going over, hey, I specifically want to talk to you about this. I'm interested in this. Let's connect. Let's find a time for us to talk. So that's just using the alumni feature on LinkedIn to kind of help get you started on finding individuals. At this time, again, if you have any questions or clarifications, now is your time to either raise your hand and you can unmute and ask, or feel free to put them in the chat. We'll give it about 2 minutes. If no one has anything, feel free to just say, like, in the chat, like, don't got any questions. All right, so we've gotten two no questions. That will be the end of our presentation. Oh, how to identify brand. Susan, can you expand on that a little bit more? Feel free to either unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm just wondering, like, how do you identify your brand if you're kind of transitioning from healthcare to like supply chain? Or I wanted to stay in the healthcare with supply chain, but it seems like it's a different career track. And how do you identify that on your LinkedIn?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So I would recommend doing doing a couple of different things. So the first is making, I know it can be kind of daunting, but making that kind of announcement post to your network about, hey, I'm currently working in this, but I'm interested in making my career pivot to this industry. Does anyone have any resources or any insight about making that transition? And like I had mentioned, when you make a similar post about being open to work, that post can get shared with your networks and their networks, and hopefully it'll be eventually seen by someone who can kind of help you out. The other way is looking, so similar to the alumni feature, is you can kind of find organizations that you're interested in working at and take a look at those individuals who are currently working at those organizations and use their LinkedIns as kind of guides as to how to customize and update your LinkedIn profile. You can also use them as people to network with. And so the difference is where like you have if you're trying to get started with informational interviews and networking, that's why we recommend that you network with someone who went to your college. But as you get more comfortable with it, or if you're just like ready to go full steam ahead with networking, feel free to reach out to individuals at the organizations that you want to work at. Does that kind of help clear up?
Yeah, because I'm basically trying to get out of like the healthcare. I want to stay in the healthcare, but do the supply chain, but they're all like, well, you need specifically more years of experience just in supply chain. I'm like, that is so, it's such a broad field.
Yeah. So having those individual connections, they'll be able to help point you to having those conversations will help you identify ways that you can introduce more supply chain experience to your resume because they're the industry insiders.
Okay, thank you.
Really good question. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, so for me, I'm more trying to figure out, I'm currently in audit, but I figure I just want to get into banking. So how do I build a brand that says this is where I'm trying to be, I want to be, and like target it towards that particular career path?
Yeah, so you're going to do the exact same thing that I suggested to Susan. It's going to create a little bit of research. So do a research of like, okay, what are the top auditing organizations? And at these auditing organizations, who are the top auditors? And from looking at both the organization LinkedIn profile as well as the leaders in that industry LinkedIn profiles, you're able to kind of model and build your LinkedIn profile off of their accounts. And so you're going to get an idea of like what keywords and skills that you should be highlighting within your work experiences and posts on LinkedIn.
And then use that to get into banking?
Yes, and then you'll use that to get into banking. And as you like find their organizations, you can and find
I'm really not
individual.
clear on this whole branding thing. That's my issue. Like I don't quite get it. We talk about branding a lot, but I'm not ever clear to find what is it we actually talking about or trying to do. So it's just trying to figure that out. I know where I want to be. I just don't quite get it.
Yeah. So what's our big question with branding here? I think we're having we have a couple of different questions with branding. So Susan also asked how many brands we can have. We should have one main brand, and our brand is just how we want to identify ourselves and present ourselves professionally. And so we can identify ourselves and present ourselves in the profession that we are currently in, or we can model our brand as what we want to be. And a lot of that, again, is just researching who are the lead organizations and who are the leaders within those organizations, and what are they doing, what are they saying to describe the work that they're doing. And we want to emulate that, so that way we appear to be a part of the industry before we're even a part of the industry.
Yeah, that sounds great. This is Susan. I was talking to one headhunter or whatever, and he was like, you could have more than one brand, because I've been in the industry for a while and have 2 masters, but my main goal was healthcare. I don't want to go away with that. I just want to like brand myself more than just program management, but in healthcare to like supply chain or product management. So could you have those 3 names on your LinkedIn?
Yes, yeah. So let me pull my LinkedIn profile.
Because he was telling me no, the headhunter.
Okay, so something that you could do is we have our names here, and then we kind of have our little like mini brand tag statement. And so I feel like something that you could do, those are all 3 key industry skills, and you can kind of highlight that here within this little bio and just list them out right here. The other thing that you can do too is you have your about section. And so you could write a kind of a paragraph highlighting these 3 skills that you have and these interests that you have in the about section. And your about section can really be anything. A lot of people think that your about has to be short and concise, but I've seen so many about sections where someone really goes into full detail, highlighting their entire career and what their career interests are. And so your LinkedIn profile is really, it's your place to tell your story and to talk about what you want professionally, what your professional goals are, and who you have been professionally.
Thank you.
Maurice, I think I saw you unmute.
Yeah, but I think she kind of led somewhat into my question as well, so that was pretty helpful.
Okay, is there anything else I can help clarify?
I just want to say one thing. When you look at your LinkedIn, it looked like you were a teacher at first, right? For nonprofit?
Yeah, so if we go into my work experience, I was an intern at an organization here in Chicago. This isn't on my profile, but I was a teacher assistant for another nonprofit. And then I've just kind of been working at DePaul ever since.
Okay, so here's my thing, like mainly when you do your brand, I mean, I don't know who this writer was that rewrote my resume, but it sounded like I've only been in the field for a year, and I'm like, these 1-page resumes, I think, are for entry level.
That's correct. Yeah. So when we're thinking about how long we want our resume to be, for current students and recent graduates, you're going to stick to that 1 page. But once you have 3 to 5 years of full-time work experience, you're able to go on to 2 pages. But you really shouldn't have anything longer than 3 pages max.
Okay, so mine, I have a 2-pager and a 1-pager, but the 1-pager, the guy, he's like, your 1-pager doesn't identify what you've done prior, just my recent master's program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I don't know, I think it was kind of negative.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that you had that experience, Susan. As an alumni, you are able to come back to the Career Center. And so I would recommend scheduling an appointment with Megan Boone, who is our healthcare and science career advisor. And she'll be able to go over with you kind of that 2-page resume and really customizing it to help you make that career pivot from healthcare into more healthcare supply chain.
Perfect. How does she spell your last name? Who?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Cool, thanks.
I'll add our staff page. So here is our career center page. And then here is our staff page. I don't believe Megan recently started over the summer, so I don't think they've updated her information quite yet to the profile. Let me get you, Megan or Susan, how about you stay on? I'm gonna close out the rest of this and I'll get you her contact information.
Okay, thanks.
I'm also concerned when do we get, I thought DePaul had a program where we get to connect with industry professionals as a mentor thing or something like that. Is that still something?
Yeah, so you might be referring to our ASK network, which is Alumni Sharing Knowledge. And this is very similar to this is our ASK network. It's very similar to the LinkedIn alumni. There's more people on LinkedIn, so if you want to use it more, if you're more interested in researching career pathways and who's in the industry, I'd recommend LinkedIn. But if you're more interested in connecting with individuals, and interested in reaching out to people who want to be someone's mentor, I would use Alumni Sharing Knowledge. And this is just kind of the tool for you to use. You're able to get an idea of like who's in the industry. So you're able to filter by industry, filter by degree types. If you want to find someone with a similar hobby, or maybe their information, or if you want to discuss about any specific topics, you're really able to explore and use that on the ASK network. And so that's our kind of tool of like connecting people, but it's really there for you to use and explore.
And it's free, right? It's free. Oh, it's free.
Yes, it's free. If you just need to use your DePaul login credentials, or get in contact with IT about allowing your DePaul login credentials. But yeah, it's free.
Okay. And okay, so we could explore different people in the industry, like what is it they're doing career wise, and asking to be a mentor, guide, or something
Yes,
like
exactly.
that. Okay. All right. And then it's probably not for this group, but then I remember I was joining, and this is my first quarter at DePaul. Do we have within the DePaul system assigned career advisors?
So you don't have an assigned career advisor. We do career communities. And so if we pull up our staff, I put in the chat, but we have our staff page here. And so we do different career communities. And so we have Lauren Bobdrin, who is our tech and design advisor. So he knows all the latest, all of us are career experts and and stay up to date to the trends within our career community. We have Ed Childs, who is our first year in exploration career advisor. And so if you really want to have an idea of what kind of careers are out there, you can go and talk to him. Annie Lux Global is our business entrepreneurship and consulting advisor. Amy Doe is our media, cinema, arts, and entertainment career advisor. And then this is me. I'm our education, nonprofit, and government career advisor. And then Megan Boone, who I mentioned earlier, but as she joined us later on in the summer, her contact information has not been updated to our website yet. She is our healthcare and science advisor. And so
I'm looking into banking.
Yeah, so as someone interested in banking, Annie Lux Global would probably be your career advisor.
Does she also do healthcare?
Annie can do healthcare. She was a healthcare advisor at a previous institution. Like I said, Megan Boone, whose contact information and photos isn't on here. She's the healthcare and science advisor. Susan, I'm going to get you her contact information in a second.
Okay, I can look her up on LinkedIn. That I'll look her up. Thank you.
When you say healthcare, are you saying healthcare as in from an administration perspective, like a leadership role?
Yeah, so she can help you with healthcare, whether it's medical, administrative, social work, counseling. I also do social work and counseling advising. It can really, there is overlap between the career communities.
'Cause I know that I worked at Blue Cross for a short time. And for me, I'm also between banking and basically not healthcare specifically, but more insurance in terms of working in the treasury function. So where my interests primarily lie.
Yeah, so what you're describing, Maurice, is that our interests can fall into multiple career communities as well. And so don't feel like you have to have one career advisor. You can meet with all of us and just one of us. Because there is overlap in our interests, right? Okay. Maurice and Susan, feel free to stick around. I have 2 questions in the chat. So Kayla asked, do you have any tips on building your LinkedIn profile for internship opportunities without having any work experience? Okay, Sophia, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Kayla, real quick before you have to head out, we are going to end at as close to 7 as possible. Highlight your projects, highlight what you're working on in your classes. Projects are a great way to talk about what you're currently learning about in class. And projects can be don't think of projects as just like, okay, like I had to work with a small group in class. Projects can be those final papers that you're writing right now as you prep for finals. Here is a Career Levy resource on projects sections on the resume. Use this as kind of a guide to adding your projects to your LinkedIn. For example, what we can do is on your LinkedIn, you can start a post. So when you go to your profile, you can start a post. And then if you wrote a paper that you're really proud of, save that paper as a PDF and attach it as a document, and then write a little bit of an introduction about what that paper was. And that's kind of a way that you can build and develop experience on your LinkedIn that's outside of professional experience. And then our other question in the chat was from Andrea. As a current grad student, do you think LinkedIn is better for connecting with people to network with and make connections on, or the job process? I think it's great for both. And I think that a question applies to whether you're an undergraduate student, a graduate student, or an alumni. You could really be using LinkedIn for multiple tools. You can be using it to network, and you can also be using it for your job search process. The job search process is finding those people and networking with those people, as well as using it for careers. Danish?
Yeah, I just had a quick question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So if we do, like as a sophomore, if we did have the chance to include sort of like an internship experience on our resume, if we have a project, for example, like a case competition that we took part in, is it okay if we list that project at the top, or should it be its own line, like after our internship experience in the middle of the sort of paper?
Are you speaking on LinkedIn or on your resume?
Oh, resume specifically.
I would include both. So I'd have your internship information on there, but then I would include an additional section, and this could have its own section header, like presentation experience or competition experience or research experience. And then you describe that specific one-off incident that occurred there. And that way you can leave the rest of that space underneath that internship experience to discuss the day-to-day roles and responsibilities of that position.
Okay, but like if we're sort of short on space, is it okay if we sort of include that line of took
Yeah,
place in
if you're
the
short on
response-
space, feel free to combine.
Okay, and so would it be fine, for example, to put like a line at the top of the resume, like maybe where I have relevant courses and like education or whatever, but I haven't like just a separate line saying took part in case competition at the top of the resume if we don't have enough space like in the middle or bottom?
Yeah, that would be okay. I would have to visually see. I think it depends on how you really format it.
Okay,
I think that's more of an individual question for an advising appointment to really go over
Got
the different ways that we can structure that information. But yeah, you
Okay,
can include just
got it.
more, you can just condense it more to a one line. I think it's just more of an individual conversation about where that one line should go.
Okay, and then will this, if we came sort of like really late, are we gonna get like a
Yeah, this,
recording if we?
yeah,
Okay,
there'll be a recording sent out probably by the end of this week, if not by early next week.
all right, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Kayla, so you are able, that's a really great question. So at the Career Center, you are able to meet with any of us advisors on your resume. We recommend that you probably meet with someone, the career advisor that best fits your career community interests. Because they're every industry kind of has different resume demands. And so or different resume standards. And so meeting with a career advisor who fits your best career interests is going to help or is going to make those suggestions that best meet the industry that you want to go and work in. So for example, can you remind me of what your major is and maybe potentially what you're interested in going into? Okay, business admin. So yeah, you would want to meet with probably Annie Lux Global, as she is the business entrepreneurship and consulting. Yeah, and project management. So project management is something that you can do in any career. And so start talking to Annie. I would recommend just talk to Annie first because she'll probably be the biggest interest, but you can also come and meet with me as well. Because I have a lot of conversations about project management in my advising in my career community too. It just depends on, do you want to project manage more for for-profit organizations or nonprofit organizations? Nonprofits, yeah, sure, come to me. For-profits, it's going to be a little bit more of Annie's domain.